It's a Purple Friday inside the vault. Welcome inside this vault for the Ravens Lunch Hour live stream edition, the 26th of September. So good to be with you guys. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is Sarah Ellison, and today's show is brought to you by our friends at Primary Residential Mortgage. We're just days away from randomly giving away a $100 Fanatics Baltimore's team store gift card for you. A lot of merch to be had on there. So if you're interested in participating and throwing yourself in to enter, you can click on the link that's included in the show notes. There's also one for you in the live chat as a pinned comment. We'll tell you more on that in just a bit. We will have a guest, Sarah, of course, coming up about 45 minutes from right now, former Chiefs wide receiver and current radio analyst in Kansas City, Danon Hughes. He returns to the program, so we look forward to having that on. I should say him on for the Kansas City perspective. In terms of our content today, the elephant in the room is that Kyle Hamilton said some things during his media scrum yesterday, Sarah, that has certainly have this fan base talking. There's a lot of chatter right now about his spoiled comment, and we will have our commentary in just a bit for you, including what else he had to say about the current state of Zach Orr's defense. Then Chris Jones took a stand in the Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, somehow it's ongoing debate. We'll have that in just a bit. And a number of other things, including DeAndre Hopkins numbers, our predictions for this one. Without further ado, it's great to have you guys with us on this Friday. And partner, practice attendance is out. What do you got from the beat reporter
already
community?
Out? Yes, I've got two things to mention off the top of the show. The first will be the most important thing, and that is the attendance. Kyle Van Noy has been seen. He has returned to practice yesterday. It was said that he was just running off on an adjacent field. Right now, as we're talking, Kyle Van Noy has returned. Do I think that one day before the Chiefs game guarantees that he'll be back? No, but we'll get his designation soon enough. And the second thing I have to say on Bobby, it's like a prime moment. There is this fly that's been going around my office. I brought my fly swatter. It's right here on my mic. I got to see if I can get it real quick.
Get him. Get him.
I didn't miss him. I didn't want to hit my mic hard. I'm telling you, this thing just keeps buzzing around my head. It's one fly. Now he's at the window. If you guys see me pull this out, I apologize, but he is driving me nuts around my head. I'll get him at some point.
That was a love tap.
I didn't want to hurt my mic. You know how much these mics cost.
Yes, I do. This is going to be something. This is going to be something on this Friday, especially when you got Eric Hill, Douglas H. Brown Sr., and others dropping in big-time gifts and super chats. We'll get to you guys in just a bit. So good to have you guys with us. Shall we start, Sarah, with Kyle's comments from yesterday?
Yeah, so he was inside the locker room. He was being asked, of course, as you would expect, many questions about the defense. He was asked specifically about criticism that Zach Orr has gotten. Listen, when you have the 32nd ranked defense, there's everybody's to blame. Defensive coordinator, players, all of that kind of stuff. But then he said something that I think got a lot of pushback from fans, and I personally am going to push back against. But let's hear the quote first as he's asked in the locker room.
Zach Orr said he takes it upon himself because it's his job to get guys in good places. He's getting a lot of criticism for your slow start defensively. Do you feel like guys are in the right places? It's just a matter of you guys making more plays?
What was the last part?
And just a matter of you guys making more plays?
Yeah, I don't think it's whatever criticism he's getting. I don't know. I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. We lose 5 games and the world's about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him when there's 11 guys out there on the field that are playing their hearts off, and he's put us in the right positions. It's just a matter of us doing the right stuff, and that's where I feel like the critiques of Zach or whatever coaches are unfair because he can't go out there and play for us. And as much as he'd want to, he can't. So it's up to us to go out and get the job done. So it's not a Zach thing. It's not a coaching thing on the defensive side of the ball. It's just players got to get the stuff right.
All right, Bobby. So obviously there in the beginning, he said, I feel like sometimes Ravens can be spoiled a little bit, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. Can the Ravens fan base be spoiled at times? Sure. Ravens are perpetual playoff contenders. They've been that way since Lamar Jackson has been here. But this is the wrong message from the wrong messenger at the wrong time. Why is it the wrong message? Well, currently because the defense is ranked dead last in yards per game. They're the worst, absolute worst. They're also ranked second to worst in points per game. Why is this the wrong time? Well, because of those rankings, but also because just 3 weeks ago, the defense allowed a 15-point fourth quarter collapse in less than 5 minutes. They had to give up a lot of points for that to happen. They also just last Monday, we're just a few days removed for letting the Lions run all over them, up and down the field, left and right. They did whatever they wanted to do. They have now surrendered the most points through 3 weeks in franchise history. Franchise history. And then he's the wrong messenger because Kyle just got paid rightfully, and we all celebrated the contract. He deserves it 1,000%. But he just got paid and has become the highest paid safety in the league, and he has been paid to become a defensive leader. He is telling fans that they're spoiled while simultaneously leading a defense that is the worst in the league. It's the wrong message by the wrong messenger at the wrong time. If this was an offensive player who was defending Todd Monken for not being able to punch it in from the 3-yard line last week with 4 attempts, that was a bad series. But if an offensive player said, hey, you know what? We're the top scoring offense. Fans are a little bit spoiled. It would make more sense coming from a messenger on that side of the ball, talking about the things that they're doing. And so, listen, we understand that the Ravens have faced 2 of the top offenses in the league in the Detroit Lions and the Buffalo Bills. So maybe they won't be the worst, but we can all see with our eyes. Anybody who watches football can see that they weren't even close to stopping the Lions, and you can't have those 15-point collapses. So I just wanted to put it out there to be fair. But if you even think for a second that Ray Lewis or Ed Reed, let's take the position of Ed Reed. If for a second they would have said, yeah, but it was Tom Brady on the other side. Yeah, that was Peyton Manning on the other side. And they kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, no, they wouldn't do that. They'd have too much pride and say, we can't have the number 32 defense. And I appreciate that Kyle Hamilton wants to step out and defend his defensive coordinator. I think that's what a leader does. There's a million ways he could have defended Zach Orr and said, hey, not all the blame is on Zach, because that's true. Kyle Hamilton didn't come out and make a play against the Lions, right? We've talked about the players, Marlon Humphrey. We've talked about Roquan Smith. We've talked about missing Nnamdi Madubuike. We've talked about missing Kyle Van Noy. So it is correct for a defensive player leader to come out and defend his coordinator and say, hey, not all of the blame goes on him. But the shot at fans, calling them spoiled when you're simultaneously leading the worst defense in the league, it wasn't a good look.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a shot. I think it's been blown up a little bit out of proportion, blown a little bit out of proportion with the way this is taken. Clearly, he's probably going to have to clarify these comments, Sarah, I would think, in the coming days. I think he got caught up in what his main intention was, which is what you already referenced, the Zach Orr defense, and that is what a leader does. And I thought the way that he handled 99% of this press conference or in this media scrum was commendable. When you go down the fans route, it's just a lose-lose. There's nothing, absolutely nothing good that can come from that. And whether it has been blown out of proportion, in my opinion, or not, really doesn't matter. Jeff asked a question, Sarah, like you heard there, that had nothing to do with the fans. It had absolutely nothing to do with the fans. He didn't specifically mention the fans. It was more about the criticism, generally speaking, that Zach Orr has endured through the first 3 weeks, particularly given Monday
fans
night
and
off.
media. Media's in there too.
Everybody's in there.
We're going to have a clip pretty soon of one of his former players, Michael Pierce, criticizing the personnel packages. So it's, you know what I mean?
Across
not just
the board.
fans. Yes.
It's been across the board. So while I am not as enraged as some are about this. I also don't spend money on season tickets. I don't spend money on merch. I don't spend, my hard-earned time going to games, following this group, following this team year round. We cover it.
Or screaming on fourth down, screaming at the top of your lungs on fourth down on a Monday night so you can get behind them for only all 3 attempts on fourth down, the other team to convert.
Yeah. And you guys get the point, right? You guys get the point. I recognize that. I respect that. And clearly, even if it is just the slightest bit of a shot, saying spoiled. He said a bit spoiled. I get it. It's ruffled some feathers, and deservedly so. Every fan is obviously entitled to their opinion in terms of how they interpreted those comments. Sarah, that wasn't the only thing that Kyle talked about yesterday in the midst of this media scrum. And like we always talk about, right? He is facing the music, if you will, making himself available, just like Derrick Henry has after all 3 fumbles in each game so far this season. Here is other bits and pieces of what Kyle had to say about the overall state of this defense through 3 weeks.
Game is who we are, and I think it's so I feel like if we get it corrected even sooner this year, we'll be in a better spot. I don't think last game is who we are, and I think it hurts a little more when you come out like that and it's uncharacteristic and it's not a communication thing. It's not like you messed up in the back end or got the front set the wrong way. It's just a matter of not being in the right spots and not winning your one-on-ones, and that's everybody included. So it's up to us to do that on a weekly basis, and you can't take it for granted. It's a week-to-week league, and you're getting best in the world every single week, so you got to reinvent yourself but also keep things the same. Whatever criticism he's getting.
And that's just the start of where we began. Again, it goes on for 6+ minutes. I encourage you guys to go check it out on the Ravens website or YouTube channel in terms of what else he had to say. Sarah, there was a lot of accountability in there. There was also a lot of calmness. I think you see that a lot from Kyle when it comes to just his leadership qualities or the way that he's just trying to kind of weather the storm as one of the team leaders. And I think that's needed right now. Matter of fact, it's a necessity right now. They have to keep this intact right now. And the sky isn't falling, to his point. That's another thing that he mentioned in his words. The sky isn't falling, but there is starting to be a potential snowball effect here. Should they lose and go to 1-3, Sarah, given the strength of schedule and the degree of difficulty that's moving forward for them over the next few months, even though the division is down, and we've talked about the state of the AFC North, this can start to fall on them quickly if they don't, 1, take care of business this weekend, and 2, most importantly, get their defense to a formidable state where they can at least be average so that they're not the sole reason, much like last year in Cincinnati, for the team not to be a postseason contender.
Yeah, and I appreciate the calmness. I've always appreciated that from Kyle. I appreciate him going to bat for his defensive coordinator. That's what he needs to do. Your players should look at themselves when their coaches are being called out, for sure. That being said, one of his former teammates, Michael Pierce, was on a podcast with a friend of the show, Samuel Njoku, and Samuel asked about the run defense, which makes a lot of sense because Michael Pierce was a big body in there that helped plug up those holes. And he even said, hey, some of the personnel packages weren't really the right ones in the right time. Here we go.
Ravens' run defense hasn't been up to snuff, and you are known for your run defense. Now, the Ravens haven't had quite the exceptional play they had last year, but even when you guys were dominating the run defense, I noticed when you were on the field as opposed to when you were not. Talk about what's going on with this Ravens defense and their struggles. Do you see some hope on the horizon? Is it a little too much, overanalyzing considering it's week 3? I want to get your thoughts.
So I would relate it to, our pass defense struggled mightily for maybe 7-8 weeks last year. And then it kind of evened out. So I would like to believe the same with the run game. Obviously, we got, new pieces like John Jenkins. We're going to have a lot of people just step up really, especially in the absence of Metabike. But we got to get Trent Simpson going. We got to get, I don't want to mispronounce his name. His last name Buchanan?
Yeah, Teddy Buchanan. Yep.
Yeah. So, run defense is never really about one person. You obviously can have people who stand out in certain areas, but it's really just about that front seven meshing and gelling together. We had a few injuries. Obviously, like I said, Madubuike is a big part in that. But I also think we got to look at, like, I saw a couple clips of this dude on Instagram. I forget his name at the moment. He was oddly enough talking about Penei Sewell. But what I realized also was, obviously not to be overly critical, our personnel was not proper to be on the 1 yard line. So unless they get no huddle or anything like that, I don't know the game plan. I'm not sitting there in the film, but like I said, from me sitting up in the press box on Monday night, it just looked like we probably could have matched personnels a little differently. When they went 2 tight ends, that's a heavier formation. Those normally lend to run tendencies and those kind of things. I think we had nickel on the field quite a bit of times, but like I said, I don't know exactly the tendency numbers and all those things that we may game plan, but I think that would have helped a little bit. But I think the numbers are definitely even out just as the season goes on. I can't see too many people running for those kind of numbers too often. Otherwise, heads may roll. But no, I like I said, I definitely believe we definitely had the guys to be able to get the job done. It's just if we don't have that game in Buffalo, I don't think they would be taking it as hard. But you have those 2 performances, and then you start off with a slow start for a second year in a row. People start pressing that panic button and they forget we got 15 more games to play. So you never know.
So we appreciate him talking about, hey, run defense isn't one person. We appreciate that he says it's about the front 7. We appreciate that he says, hey, things were bad last year. We got it figured out. This all even out. We appreciate that. But we also appreciate that he did call out Zach Orr there. When he says that we were in a nickel defense against 22 personnel. We went over this a couple days ago. And then Marlon Humphrey playing inside linebacker to Roquan Smith, but Teddy Buchanan is out here ready to guard the wide receiver. Look at this. He talked about the goal line package. Look at this goal line package, Bobby. Look at the left side of this defensive line. Instead of John Jenkins being out there with a big body, he's put Tavius Robinson in that is it the B gap between the guard, the right guard and the right tackle. Then they've got Malachi Starks over there with the tackle and tight end to take on the 2 more smaller bodies, backing them up with Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins. And so again, we go back to, this isn't all Zach Orr's fault for sure. We've talked about the players, but his own former players like, hey, we got to get better personnel out there in the correct situations. And so that's the type of messaging we're looking for. The other type of messaging we're looking for is like this one from Willie Taggart, which was on Ravens Wired last night when he's talking to his running back room.
Running back room, blame no one, make no excuses, do something. That's who I am. That's what I believe in.
Simple as that. Simple as that. Make no excuses, blame no one, do something. That's it. That's it. That's all that really needs to be said beyond that. And Bobby, by the way, here's the problem is even if Zach Orr gets the correct personnel packages out there, they do have to learn how to adjust with Nnamdi Madubuike. And we had some people say yesterday, would Michael Pierce himself, can he unretire? Samuel asked him that, and he made it clear what his intentions are.
Let's just ask the question. Will you be unretiring and returning to the Baltimore Ravens for us fans? Please.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so, man. I still work out on a daily basis. I don't run nearly as much as I should, especially if I was going to be playing in any game. So, they had to give me notice, and they wouldn't be able to call me till like December at the earliest, bro. So,
have you had any contact with the front office?
I think I'll be putting them cleats back on this year, brother.
Oh man, that's a shame. We would love to have you. Definitely much appreciated for your time with the Ravens.
Ooh, so
big MP.
He's like, you'd have to give me a couple months notice. Give me till December. Maybe I could get in shape for it.
He's a great guy. He was a great Raven, multiple stints with the Ravens. I believe he went to Minnesota in between those stints. But I just went back and looked, Sarah. I needed to jog my memory because when it came to the alignment that Coach Evans called out that we had up on a previous slide, and here it is for those that just wanted the visual again, with again, Marlon Humphrey sort of in no man's land here. And like you said, it looked a little funky up at the goal line. Jonas Schaefer from the Banner asked a question not only about this, but Mike Green as an off-ball linebacker, Ajabo as an off-ball linebacker in some sets, right? And they're like, hey, what was up with these atypical spots alignment-wise? Like, what is the reasoning? Were they properly aligned? And Zach didn't give much, but this was his answer. Yes, they were properly aligned, and that's really just more of the play call and the personnel that we had been in, and it just depends on what formation they give us. So those guys, they were properly aligned in those places. I mean, there's nothing there in terms of the context, but he was asked about it for those that were wondering.
Yeah, and I'm like trying to like give grace. And I'm like, aligned. Was he more talking about they were exactly in the place I wanted them to be, or was he saying I called the correct personnel?
Wish I could tell you.
Because I don't know how you can justify Malachi Starks up on the line like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wish I could tell you. But, to put a bow on this defensive side of the thing, Sarah, I would suspect that next time Kyle Hamilton's behind a mic to get right with this fan base.
Okay.
Even if those that are out there, because there's some in the live chat that don't feel like he needs to get right, but there are plenty that do. So I'm sure the next time he gets behind the mic, he'll have a few words to say. 2, you appreciate the continued leadership and accountability from him when it comes to not only some of the shortcomings performance-wise, but also having his defensive coordinators back. Clearly, there's a respect level there and a trust level there. And then 3, there's nobody coming to save this team between now and the deadline. Maybe prior to the deadline.
There could be a trade.
Maybe prior to the deadline. But there's no one that's recently retired. There's no one out there like Taven Bryan, barring something unforeseen that they brought into the practice squad, that is coming in overnight and saving this run defense right now. They got to look at themselves in the mirror. They got to get healthy. Obviously, like you mentioned at the top, attendance today is encouraging for both Travis Jones and Kyle Van Noy's availability come Sunday. But to continue to reiterate what we've kind of thought about all week, would that Monday night performance and that ultimate outcome have been different had 92 and KVN been out there? I can't sit here and confidently tell you yes at all based on how badly they were beaten. So week 4 Chronicles. What a week it's been.
I'll just end on this. We got a read coming up. I'll just say he doesn't have to say anything to get right with me. Kyle Hamilton's an all-pro, as like he deserved his contract. Let's just play better. That's all he has to do. That's all the defense has to do. Just play better, and this all goes away. Nobody cares. It'll be a blip on the screen. Yep.
I love it. I think that's super reasonable. What's also reasonable is we're just a few days out. Hopefully it's more than reasonable for you guys that $100 Fanatics gift card to Baltimore's team store is out there for grabs. Coming up later this month, we will randomly give away, based on your participation in this giveaway, we will randomly give away that gift certificate that'll allow you to go get yourself a jersey or a hoodie or maybe a beanie for fall weather coming up. I don't know, whatever you want. There is so much to choose from on the Fanatics Ravens team store website. So anyway, we're working with Primary Residential Mortgage this fall. And if you go to the link that we have included in the show notes and in the pinned comment, it'll take you to this post right here where you can, if you're interested, enter in. Comment on the post with the hashtag Vault. Let them know what your dream home looks like. I love how these have all come in consistently over the last few weeks. Monica says, my dream house would be a beach house with 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. Love to wake up and go to bed to beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Wouldn't we all? And you just go on and on. The replies have been plentiful. Black Wolf says, it's got to have a huge backyard and a basement for my man cave. Heck yeah. I tell you what, Wildlife Wale Sarah's probably got a sweet man cave edition with that Preston Automotive Group Kyle Hamilton signed jersey. Hopefully he hasn't burned it in the last 24 hours, that jersey. You never know. Let's see. Anyway, all these.
Hope not.
I know that would be
it
really
wasn't that
tragic.
big of a gaffe in what he said. Not that big.
That would be tragic. Jason says my fiance and Ice Dream home isn't about the house. We dream about something with a little pasture that we could start a homestead on. That's cute and wholesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, leave a comment with the hashtag Vault. Follow them on Instagram. Subscribe to the Vault on YouTube. Scan the QR code and fill out the Google form, and that'll allow you to be eligible for a $100 Fanatics gift card. And a quick message before we switch to the opposite side of the ball and get some super chats in here, that if you're in the market for a new house and beginning your home buying process, maybe alone or with your significant other, whatever, you're starting your family, maybe now's the time. Big news, just over a week ago, the Fed finally cut rates. What that might mean for you, who knows? Lower Fed rates can create new opportunities in home buying, but the timing is everything. And at Primary Residential Mortgage, a loan officer can break down exactly how this move could impact your buying power, your mortgage options, and your path to home ownership. So don't wait. Reach out to a Primary Residential Mortgage professional today, and you can find out what this Fed rate cut could mean for your next move. And if you go to the show notes, you can easily apply now. It is super simple. You just click this apply now right now. Sarah and I have our own specific unique URL and landing page at primeres.com. You can contact them by filling out this form right here. Here we are with our tricked out graphics and all direct links to our social platforms. And again, apply now will allow you get everything that you need to do to get in touch with Primary Residential Mortgage and hopefully get that home buying process started if you're in the market to do so. Shall we get to some super chats?
Would love that.
All right. Darren Alexander got us started last night, becoming a new channel member. Why do I feel like this has been here? Just populated for the last several days. Darren, appreciate you. Douglas H. Brown Sr., Sarah, is in the house.
Says, good morning, S. which I feel like I can now embrace now that I got educated yesterday of where that came from. Sarah and Bobby. So we are all on the edge of our seats waiting for the funk to end. Yes, we are, Douglas.
And on top of that, he's gifted 5 channel memberships on this Friday. Great to have you here, DHB Senior. Love that profile photo as always. John R. is in the house. He's celebrating 4 months. And he writes, what's up, Bobby and Sarah and Tron family? Love this community. We love you for being here today. And happy anniversary to you there, John. Eric Hill gets us started today. I'll rest my voice in just a second. $100 super chat from EH. A brand new profile photo looking like he's modeling in front of his vehicle. And I believe he has his Vault bucket hat on, which makes this photo even more special than it already is. And Sarah, there is a comment attached.
We missed you yesterday, Eric. Glad you're back. He says, in case no one tells you today that they love you, just know that I do. Shout out to one of my battles, Kia Wayanda. Happy birthday to you. Also, my son's birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday to you as well, son. I got a whole teenager. It's a fun time to be a parent. Missed yesterday, but I'm back. Hashtag stop the 22. We're so happy you're back, Eric. Cue the meatloaf.
Well, that's dope on a number of levels. Bunch of birthday shout outs to go around. Eric didn't even realize that you had a son. Maybe you mentioned that at one point. So best wishes to him. Hope you guys enjoy the birthday weekend. And there's going to be a little bit of a meaning. I'd say some symbolic meaning to this.
Symbolism.
The meatloaf cue. Thank you. I would say based on where we are right now within our community, Sarah, knowing that this feels like a must win, knowing that it's been a little bit loud coming off the Kyle Hamilton stuff, knowing that frustrations are running rampant right now within the fan base. I'm going to go ahead and cue it and just listen for the symbolism. Hey, Ma, I need some resilient meatloaf on this Friday. Some resilient meatloaf on deck. Thank you.
You know what? You're going to have to be resilient yourself with this 50 burger, this 50 ship.
Make it 50. 50 resilient burgers. And meatloaf. And Tilly. Ma, I need resilient food. EH, we appreciate you on this Friday for a ridiculous amount of gifts. 50 subscribers have just become channel members as of minutes ago. You're the man, Eric. Douglas H. Brown Sr., you guys are going back and forth competing today. Sarah, this one's for you.
Douglas is back, says, I hear what Kyle said, but it's Orr's job to motivate them to be exceptional. It's also his job to put them in the right personnel groupings.
D. Isaiah T. Billings Clyde writes, Kyle is like, quote, all this money and time you invest in adoring this team, you fans really need to lower your standards. We're just not as good as previous eras of Ravens teams. D. Isaiah interpreting Kyle's comments. Again, everybody has their opinion based on how he handled his scrum yesterday, and that is D. Isaiah's. Park Heights Prophet with a $2.18 super chat.
18 and 2, or 2 and 18. I don't know. Yeah. I am spoiled, says PHB. Don't embarrass me and get us a Lombardi.
Sod Blitz 34 writes, the issues are in large part stamina and lack of complementary football. Yards per quarter given up this year. 143 yards, meaning first quarter. Second quarter, 332, 3, 211, 4, 538. Yards per quarter given up this year. How can that be? Oh, are you totaling them up for 3 games? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So he's showing you a trend that in the second part of each half, the defense starts to fall apart, especially in the fourth quarter. So it's total yards in each quarter through 3 games.
Thanks, Saad. And thank you, Sarah. We've ran 157 plays to the opponent's 216 plays. That's the worst ratio in the NFL, with negative 20 minutes to time of possession, meaning they've lost the time of possession battle by 20 minutes. This is actually really good stuff here from Saad. And finally, his super chats populate. So thank you, Saad. And thanks for kind of studying up on a disturbing trend that is also very telling. It's a telling trend because I think it gives a lot of context, Sarah, to where they've gone wrong. And, there's one interesting part of this, too, that we were too busy deciphering it, maybe. But the stamina part, that's something that's kind of reared its ugly head in the fourth quarter for them, I feel like.
Well, to be fair, I knew that they were going to run out of stamina because they were giving up 98, 96-yard drives. That's their own fault. Like, yeah, there is a part of it where Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense score quickly, but that's not the worst thing in the world. But the bigger problem is that you were giving up these big drives. That's on you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Pete with a super chat. I'm just realizing my resilient meatloaf cues that I was doing. My throat is wow. I just may have damaged the vocal cord. Go ahead and read. It's Pete super chat.
He says, I understand Kyle's comments. The fans always think it's the end of the world. As a younger fan, I didn't see Ray play, but it can be annoying. Have faith.
Thanks. It's Pete. Park Heights Prophet with a $20 super chat. Sarah, we're the man at the pool in John 5. We're waiting, but the angel, Lombardi, only comes once a year and our water has yet to be stirred. I'll keep waiting by the pool, but we have to get it done. Hashtag 18-2. Hashtag beat Kansas City by 10. Hashtag I'm spoiled. So reference
he's talking about the water of like where he believes that the water would heal him. He just needs to get in, but he can't get in there. Was he paralyzed? Did he have leprosy? I can't remember what he was, but he can't get into the pool.
What a play on
finally
words.
Yes. Yeah.
Well done, PHP. Dalen Price writes, it's not all on Zach. He can't make tackles or go into pass coverage. We are not spoiled. We are teased with this team being called the best every year. Adam Legend
says Kyle calls the fan base spoiled. Then they act like we've done nothing good in years. Yeah, that sounds spoiled by team success. Hit dog will holler.
Sod Blitz Moore says, to clarify, the defense is making stops early in each half, but are gassed in the second, and especially the fourth quarters. Our offense has a tendency to go 3 and out or 3 and touchdown. FPS _ D0C.
No one knows what it takes to win a bowl with the exception of Van Noy. Need an attitude adjustment. These quote unquote leaders, he says, need to step up. Wake up, Sleepy John.
Man, is that the only player on the roster that's won a Super Bowl?
Might be right.
Wow.
I don't know.
I'm just
maybe from other teams, but that I'm aware of. Yeah,
that's what I mean. Because there's nobody left from Justin was it last year from the 2012 team. For a while, it was the Wolf Pack. But now that Justin's no longer with the organization, I don't think anybody from the 2012 team is currently personnel wise with the team. Moneybag writes, serious question. 1 through 4 is very realistic. What changes in 4 days, Bobby? Period.
He's saying the record 1 and 4 is very realistic, not 1 through 4.
Yeah, it's okay. Serious question. 1 and 4 is very realistic. Get that thing. Get it. Let's go big screen. Show us what you do.
I don't know where it landed.
Where's it at?
No, we got to keep moving. We got another topic to get through before we have our guest, but I don't know where it went. I felt it here for a second.
1 and 4 is very realistic. What changes in 4 days? Bobby, there is no other guy on the roster besides KM and Higgins on defense. Jay Higgins and Keon Martin. There is no other guy on the roster besides Keon Martin and Jay Higgins.
I don't know.
Am I missing something here, Money?
I'm missing that one.
Okay. All right, we do have a guest in 15 minutes. Let's pause on the super chats for now, and we're going to shift gears to Chris Jones' comments in just a second. Thank you guys for being with us. We'll get back to as many of those as possible. Keaton Mitchell. I still don't understand, though, the point for Moneybag. If you could clarify money, we'll read that in the coming minutes. Please like the video on your way in today. We appreciate you guys for being with us. Over 1,800 concurrents on this Purple Friday. Danon Hughes from the Kansas City Perspective joins us in 15 minutes. He's the radio analyst for the Chiefs. Partner, shall we talk about Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and how it somehow came up in a press conference without actually coming up? Josh's name didn't come up, but let's talk about our next topic.
Let's do it. I mean, I know you grabbed the clip. You listen to all the Kansas City Chiefs pressers. In fact, you do a really good job of doing that with opponents every week. So why don't you set this up and let us know what Chris said?
Got you. All right. So star pass rusher in Kansas City, who has certainly game wrecked the Ravens before, Sarah, Chris Jones, had a chance to catch up with reporters at a press conference earlier this week. And while he wasn't specifically asked anything about the Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen ongoing MVP debate from a year ago, he went there himself in a lot of ways by sharing these sentiments, not just on the Ravens, not just on Derrick Henry, but on Lamar Jackson and what he has turned himself into as a full-fledged weapon.
As you see on film, fast, explosive. Any play in the game, he can change the dynamic of it. So, with him, it's always tough to play against Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. Stopping Lamar is one thing, trying to contain him is another. And over the years, you look how prolific as a passer he's become. I think he's completing 70% of his passes, which I think he should have won MVP last year. Have so much respect for him. Derrick Henry is the same as Lamar. Change the dynamic of the game at any point in the game. You got to make sure that not only one person, when he has the ball, not only one person bringing him down, make sure we crowding around him, grabbing him, clawing him, whatever we got to do to get him down, man. I mean, you can take it both ways. It's not often Lamar is easily sacked 7 times, When I heard that stat line, I was like, well, that's crazy. Because the Ravens mostly run the ball, but Lamar can pass the ball too. So, it's the dynamic of the game. I guess they went down and try to get back in the game and throwing the ball. So I get it. It happens. It's not often, but it happens. Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the league, fumbles or not. And I think that's new territory for him. Because you look over the years, he's not a big fumbler. So I'm quite sure he's, working on it this week and the next few weeks to make sure he has the ball high and tight. But it's also as an opportunity for us to somebody grab him first. 2 people grab him first, and let's try to get the ball.
All right, so it was all kind of compiled within one there, right? On the Ravens as a whole, the dynamic backfield, and Lamar and Derrick as running mates. But for the purpose of this conversation, you heard what he slipped in there related to last year's MVP race, Sarah, making it clear where he stands. And I think also contradicting, based on what I saw in my mentions, what he said in the Super Bowl media about Josh's MVP candidacy a year ago, saying that he was clearly, paraphrasing, the league's MVP. Months later, after a lot of people have spoken on this, including us, and on all kinds of other national platforms, Chris making it clear, quote, I think he should have won MVP last year. I have so much respect for him. Where are you at?
Well, listen, I didn't remember what he said back in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I don't remember any of that. Maybe he's just playing to his opponents. But yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Lamar should have won the MVP. We've discussed that a million times. He had 22 votes to Josh Allen's 27, but he won the All-Pro MVP. And, it's nice to know here that Chris Jones believes it's Lamar. I mean, a lot of players, they're always trying to come up or players compliment Lamar more. Opponents compliment Lamar more than executives and media. That's just the facts. And so, we can put that in the rearview mirror. We've discussed it a million times. What's interesting is this time around, here we are, and he's about to play Lamar again, and he knows how tough it's going to be. Lamar is playing at an MVP level again. He is number 1 in the league with 9 touchdowns. He's tied for number 1 in the league with 0 interceptions. He's number 1 in the league with 9.6 yards per pass and number 1 in the league with a 141.8 pass rating. He's got the best pass rating in the history of the NFL. Any other quarterback that started out with 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions through the first 3 weeks, all of those quarterbacks in the past that started that way were undefeated. They were undefeated. Nobody is talking about Lamar Jackson's MVP start to this season, other than Chris Jones, even though he didn't say it for this season. He's talking about how good he is. Nobody's talking about it because the Ravens are 1-2. It's the same predicament that Joe Burrow was in last year. Nobody was even going to really consider him for MVP when they couldn't win. So Lamar, 100%, is a force to be dealt with. Chris Jones is acknowledging that. We all see it in the numbers. We see it with our eyes. He's got a big task in front of him, Chris Jones does, but the Ravens have a bigger task to get themselves right on defense.
And getting over the hump that is these Kansas City Chiefs, who they've only beat once throughout the Lamar era. That came back in the fall of 2021. And somebody who has really had their number, not only is Patrick Mahomes, not only is Andy Reid, of course, but what about the guy who coordinates things defensively for the Chiefs? As pedestrian as they have looked, we look forward to bringing on Dana Hughes, by the way, from his perspective. He's the Chiefs radio analyst in a few minutes. But the guy who's been at the forefront of this success, Sarah, defensively speaking, and again, as pedestrian as they are offensively so far through this year, they are still a championship defense. And that's led by Steve Spagnolo, who also did his part in buttering up Lamar and the Ravens, right? You've seen a trend here. This is what contenders do. What did Cleveland do? How did they handle things aside from Myles Garrett in the media leading up to week 2, Sarah? They acted like pretenders. And then they got dealt with, as Roquan would say, in that game. The Chiefs, businesslike, very much like the way that Detroit handled its media sessions in the days leading up to Monday Night Football. Here is Steve Spagnolo on the challenge and what he's seen so far from Lamar and company.
Thing that we always see, a dynamic quarterback with a lot of talent around him and a team that can run the football. They, when they're really good, and they have been all year long, they can dictate the game by being two-dimensional the whole game. And you have to worry about it on every snap. It doesn't matter what the down and distance is. They'll run it when you're supposed to throw it and throw it when you're supposed to run it, and they got guys that can do it.
I'm surprised Detroit was able to sack him a career-high 7 times. Anything you can use from them?
What just stood out to me just watching the game on TV was how relentless Detroit was. The effort that their pass rushers put in, I thought was really, really good, and they found ways to eventually get him on the ground, which is not easy to do.
Sarah, did you hear what he said there at the beginning of the clip, that they can dictate the way that a game is played? We've watched that throughout the Lamar era, right? Whether it was during Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator and or Todd Monken. That's one thing that I think you can compare between the two phases of Lamar. They always want to dictate and control the pace of the game. And if you go back to week 1, they've had a ton of success in doing so, by the way. You go back to week 1 last year, the AFC Championship rematch, that's exactly what the Ravens did. They won the time of possession battle easily. 33 minutes and change to 26 for Kansas City. They won third down. They were 7 for 14. They outgained Kansas City in terms of overall yardage that day, 452 to 353, and yet they lost the football game, as we all know, by a toe or whatever. That would have maybe forced overtime, whatever. Ultimately, Spags is right. That's how the Ravens play ball. That's not what happened on Monday night, which is why it was so jarring to see. The fact that not only on their home turf, but just in general, they had in no way did they have any control of that football game really from the jump.
Yeah, and even Todd Monken, had to admit to that. How could you not? He said yesterday during pressers that he said, quote, "We never really got into a rhythm running it against the Lions." That's how you control things, is with the run game. And it's staggering to watch that. I thought it was funny. Ramey, as I'm sure many of us follow on Twitter, he quote retweets that from Todd Monken and says, "Hey, Todd, I know a guy that averages 6.9 yards per carry for his career that can help you find the rhythm. And he just happens to reside in Baltimore, Maryland," of course, referring to Keaton Mitchell. And I don't know, but I mean, before people were asking us, hey, should Keaton Mitchell be in there? Well, before I said, well, don't fix what's not broken, which is what was the case at week 1, but it wasn't the case recently. And if you're going to have a hard time out physicaling another team, then some speed would absolutely help. And so, Bobby, you showing Spags right there, and now having Todd Monken here, we had on All 22 coach Derek Coleman, and he felt like, hey, it was one of those games. He doesn't call out the coaches all the time, but he also just felt like the other team's coaches out prepared the Ravens coaches. And that's why he was also asked about the missed goal to go situations where they had 4 opportunities to try to punch it in from 3 yards out. Gave it to Derrick Henry. He gains 2 yards. Okay, looking good. Gave it to Derrick Henry again. Stopped at the line of scrimmage. Then he tried to go outside with Derrick. He mentioned yesterday that 3rd down play he felt like was a bad play call. And then I felt like the 4th down play call was bad. I don't like that play anymore. Too many guys are used to Lamar rolling out over to Mark Andrews when you're at, the 2 or 3 or 1. And the Lions obviously knew it was coming. They were all in his face. So Todd Monken is going to have to do a better job of putting his offense in a position where Spags can't beat him. And the final thing I'll just want to point out that Todd Monken said is they were asking about, what was happening with Lamar holding the ball so long? Was it like he had to wait for the downfield routes? Was it the pass protection? What was it? And he just said, it's all true. It's all the above. But again, we talked about ways that he could open it up, and he's got to be able to scheme things because you have Lamar Jackson. If Lamar has no option to throw the ball downfield or run, then you got to scheme up something better because there were no running lanes for him, but there were also no open receivers.
Hey, along the Keaton Mitchell lines too, Chris Horton, that was addressed by him in his portion of yesterday's press conference. Of course, he's a special teams coordinator in Baltimore. And yet again, Sarah, he handled it as he has in the past, essentially saying that Rasheen Ali is ahead of him in several special teams categories. He also said that if he were to be out there and active on special teams, he would be so as a gunner. And the Ravens are content with what they have currently at gunner. So Keaton continues to come up in conversation, and they continue to essentially reiterate what their messaging has been in recent weeks, and that is the fact that he is down on the depth chart, if you will, behind Rasheen Ali from a special teams perspective.
That's fine to make that decision on special teams. Totally get that. I mean, I can't say I'm watching the Gunners enough to say, no, Keaton Mitchell's a better gunner. So I'm willing to take his word for it. But on Todd Monken and the offensive side, that's fine. You have a separate choice to make in terms of offensive players, and just don't have another game where Derrick Henry in the run game can't get off the ground, because it happened against the Browns and Lamar took over with his arm, and then it happened with the Lions, but they had too good of coverage for the passing game to take over. So, okay, that's fine on special teams, but that's now 2 weeks in a row where the run game has disappeared, and that can't happen with a Baltimore Ravens backfield with this much talent.
Hey, and to put a bow on this offensive side of the conversation, if Ronnie Stanley can't go, Sarah, they're likely going with Joseph Noteboom against Chris Jones and this defensive front in Kansas City on Sunday. Ronnie has not practiced all week. It's an ankle, as you asked yesterday, and I still haven't figured out what ankle it is, but if it's the surgically repaired with multiple follow-ups angles that almost ended his career within the last few years, that's concerning. Again, we don't know which angle it is, which ankle it is, but knowing that Ronnie is trending towards not playing, it's a big deal, big blow.
It'd be a surprise at this point to see Ronnie Stanley out there, which means Joseph Noteboom would probably be out there. I mean, he's been around the league. I think he has 30 some odd starts, but he's no Ronnie Stanley. And so last week, the Ravens showed an inability to run to the right side. How is it going to be looking with Voorhees and maybe Noteboom on the left side with Chris Jones on the opposing side? That could pose big problems. It's going to be an uphill battle for Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and company.
On the other side of the football, just in case you guys missed it, Kyle Van Noy and Travis Jones returned to practice. So perhaps they're trending towards encouraging trends, if you will, to potentially be available come 4:25 at Arrowhead. It's Ravens Chiefs. That's what's coming up this Sunday in week 4. Okay, looks like our old friend and a former guest of the show has just popped into the waiting room. Former Kansas City Chief, former NFL wide receiver, current radio analyst for the Chiefs radio network, Danon Hughes, has just popped in, and we look forward to bringing him in via phone today. Danon, great to have you back inside the vault, and can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Thanks for having me. It's been a fun week after finally getting a win up in New Jersey. So I was back home last week. I was 2-1 on the weekend. My high school team lost Friday night. I got a chance to see them a little bit, and then I went down to Rutgers. So Iowa beat Rutgers. So I was on the sideline for that, and then our Chiefs got a win on Sunday night. So it was a fun-filled week. Glad to be back here in Kansas City and ready to take on the Ravens.
That's not so bad at all. It's a heck of a weekend, matter of fact. If you could follow that up, I know a lot of people live watching this right now won't be pleased if that one of those 3 ends up going the same outcome coming up on Sunday. But I think I just want to jump right in with you, Danon, because this is a Chiefs team that's been without 2 of its key playmakers at Mahomes' disposal so far at times. Well, for the entire year so far in Rashee Rice's case, given his suspension, and for the last couple in Xavier Worthy's case. But it sure looks like the latter of those 2 will be available coming up on Sunday. So how does that change what's looked to be a bit pedestrian offensively wise, knowing that speed's going to be back at Andy Reid's disposal?
Yeah, I think even more so than the speed. First of all, it's going to be great to have Xavier back, but even more so the speed. It's the versatility. If you consider what we saw from Xavier Worthy last year, he scored 9 touchdowns, some through the air, some on the ground. That versatility of the jet sweep, the reverses, and then obviously the vertical speed is a huge component and asset to our offense that we just haven't had thus far. And a lot of people have made noise about this offense and sputtering along and where it is now versus where the expectations were. Take the top 2 receivers off of any team in the NFL and see where that team is. I mean, you take Flowers and Bateman or Flowers and Hopkins off of your team, where would they be? If you took Jamar Chase and T. Higgins off of the Bengals, where would they be? And you can go through the litany of teams, and yet we're standing at 1-2, and possibly a catch by Travis Kelce on the goal line against the Eagles, a play, containment by Chris Jones on Justin Herbert in Week 1 in Brazil, and we might be sitting 3-0. So I feel like if we're able to maintain and get this win this week and avoid being 1-3, get back to 500, we'll have Rashee Rice back in the mix in a few weeks. Then we'll be hitting our stride. So having Xavier Worthy back is going to be huge because I want to see the vertical game that Tyquan Thornton, who would have thought we'd be talking about Tyquan Thornton in Week 4 as the leading receiver on this team during the preseason. But the fact remains is he's been able to stretch the field, and I think Xavier Worthy is going to be a guy that can do that too.
So do you feel like Patrick Mahomes is maybe taking some unfair criticism given that he's missed his top 2 wide receivers? And on top of it, Travis Kelce, I mean, he's got 10 receptions for 134 yards. He's got 1 touchdown. I mean, that's the receptions is tied for 73rd in the league, and 134 is tied for 61st. Obviously, that's including wide receivers and whatnot, but it's not quite up to his standards. Do you feel like Patrick Mahomes is playing as good as ever, but his weapons aren't stepping up for him?
I think he's playing good. I don't know if he's playing as good as ever. I mean, he's had some stellar seasons and stellar games in the past that I don't think he's surpassed or even equaled. But you think about the dynamic of this offense. Without Xavier Worthy, without Rashee Rice, who's going to get all the attention in the passing game? Travis Kelce. He already gets a lot of attention just because he's been Travis Kelce, even when we had those guys healthy. So it's not uncharacteristic for there to be some frustrations by Travis, but also give credit to the defenses. They're basically saying, we don't think you can beat us with Tyquan Thornton and Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. So we're going to focus in the passing game. We're going to focus on bracketing and disrupting Travis Kelce, frustrating him, because we're going to challenge you to see if you're going to use the other guys to your advantage. Also couple that with a running game that hasn't been efficient either. 2 of the first 3 games, Patrick Mahomes was the leading rusher. Just to put that into perspective, he was a leading rusher one other time in the past. I want to say it was 2023 against the Raiders. All 3 games we lost when he was the leading rusher. So not having a complementary run game, not having the weapons on offense, so then therefore more focus can go to Travis Kelce, has put us in a position where we are now. Do I think Travis has a lot more left in his gas tank? Yes, just like I did with DeAndre Hopkins when he came here last year. So I think we'll see a little bit better version of this offense kind of creep back into play starting this week. Xavier Worthy on the field. He's going to garner some attention. Hopefully that opens up the door for Travis to get to be happy. He seems a little frustrated. He seems a little upset. So we got to get that smile back on his face.
Dan, this is going to be interesting to see just how much desperation is involved in this game. I mean, you mentioned 1-3. The statistics that we've been following along historically all week is that essentially since the merger in 1970, only 11% of teams that start with that record, 1-3, and one of these 2 teams will be at the end of Sunday night, go on to make the playoffs. So again, desperation calls for, what's the saying? Desperate times call for desperate measures.
So I'm going to quote one of my favorite movies of all time, Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance.
Correct.
There you go.
Correct.
But I will say this. I know those percentages. I've heard those percentages in the past. And, I don't know if the people in your area, in your region want to hear this, but I feel like if the Ravens are 1-3, they're probably on the higher tier of that 11% than the Chiefs, just based on what's happening within the division. To consider the Chargers, where they're at 3-0, and the upcoming schedule that they have, many people think that they probably will be 6, 7, maybe even 8-0 before they have to face another team that could possibly beat them. And then with Joe Burrows going down and the state of the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, like there may be a situation where the AFC North is won by a team that's 10-7 when it's all said and done. So I still feel like, I'm not saying that should give anybody, any uncharacteristically hope, but I will say on our side, I wouldn't say this is a must win, but it's definitely a necessary win situation for us to be able to win this game at home. And then also for our fans, we don't want to go 0-2 at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium.
I think these are all fair points. We were just debating that yesterday. Who needs it more? They're both staring at 1-3, the possibility of it, but you make some good points about the division. It's completely flipped here in the AFC North and different from what we thought it was going to be. Dana, you mentioned the run game for the Kansas City Chiefs not really being as big of a part with all these missing weapons. Do you feel like this is a game where they're like licking their chops and feeling like, hey, maybe we can get things right because the Ravens just gave up hundreds of yards to the Detroit Lions? They're ranked number 30th right now. Is this a game that they're saying, hey, maybe we can get the run game going?
I think if there's ever a day or a game that you say that, this would possibly be it. But how crazy is it? Like, and I've said this throughout this week. I did my shows. I do a couple of segments on the NBC affiliate here in Kansas City, and I break down segments. Like, there's very few organizations in all of professional sports that you can associate from day one, for decades long an identity. Pittsburgh Steelers, Steel Curtain till now, it's always been about defense, and so have the Ravens. And to see where they are defensively has to be frustrating for your entire base and the fans of the Ravens organization. But they're wounded. They're wounded, and we can't allow them to have any kind of confidence builder. We can't be in the third quarter and have only rushed for 45 yards. And whether we're winning the game or not, because that is going to be contagious amongst your defense. So we got to be careful. But I always say with Patrick Mahomes, and this is different than Lamar Jackson, both great quarterbacks. If you say Patrick Mahomes is the great player, the greatest player in the NFL, many people consider it, especially over the course of his career, every time he hands the ball off, the best player doesn't have the ball. The best player can't do anything. And that's a dynamic that I do not envy Matt Nagy or Andy Reid. How many times is going to be sufficient? 10 times? 20 times? Do you take the ball out of the best player's hands? And I feel like that's been a dilemma throughout his career. And that's probably a contributing factor as to why we don't run the ball as consistently as many people think we should. But based on where the Ravens are now, I feel like this is the week that we can turn the tide. They started it just a bit last week with some success in the run game with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. We're just going to have to see how the game goes. I think it's a smart move that if you run the ball, guess what? The clock runs. That means Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and that offense is on the sideline. They probably think the same thing. If we run the ball, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is on the sideline, and the clock is running. So I feel like that's going to be kind of a chess match, maybe the game within the game, that we're going to see how it unfolds.
Hey, Dan and John Harbaugh speaking with the media in his Friday press conference right now. A couple little notes here is that Ronnie Stanley is dealing with an ankle. He is day-to-day, quote, working to be out there on Sunday, despite the fact that he hasn't practiced all week long. Nnamdi Madubuike will not play in this game. Optics continue to be ominous, if you will, on that front because of the neck and the severity that comes with just the significance of that part of the body, especially when you're in the trenches the way that he is. And Isaiah likely will be listed as a full participant today, likely, meaning that likely will make his season debut coming up on Sunday night in Kansas City. I say all of this to say just some updates there for you, but more importantly, as a former player, let me know if this has any kind of factor and significance going into Sunday. This has been a series that's been dominated, as you know, by Mahomes and the Chiefs since he and Lamar went head-to-head. What is it, 6 or 7 game sample size? Only one win in September of 2021 has gone in the Ravens' direction, and we know just how gut-wrenching the last couple losses have been in last-minute fashion or just in utter second-half domination or self-inflicted wounds, whatever you want to call it, in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago. Can you tell us the psychological advantage, or maybe there isn't an advantage within that department, that Kansas City has over Baltimore coming into Sunday?
So the first thing I will say is that if Isaiah Likely is going to play, hopefully he wears the same size shoes he wore last time he was at Arrowhead Stadium, and he was just a toenail out of bounds from that game-tying or maybe even the game-winning touchdown. So I'll just throw that out there. But as far as Lamar, I don't know him personally, but I don't feel like he doesn't give me the vibe of like what we saw with Joe Burrow and the team rallying around him and calling it Burrowhead instead of Arrowhead, and the dysfunction that came with that and disrespect that came with that. I feel like he is the ultimate competitor, and he realizes that he just came up short against Patrick Mahomes. It's, you know, you can make an argument as to who lost the game versus who got beat. I feel like they can make an argument that we just happened to lose those games. It wasn't that Patrick severely outplayed him or that it was a big brother, little brother situation. But at the same time, you have to focus on what's now, not necessarily what's happened in the past. Now, if each of these teams were 3-0, then maybe I'd have a different perspective on it. But being 1-2, possibly being 1-3, has to be at the forefront of your brain if you're Patrick Mahomes as well as Lamar Jackson, and not becoming that team that's 1-3. So yeah, I mean, I think that question, it's a great question. It's a great thing to ponder. We can probably talk about it for an hour, but I feel like it would be totally different if these teams were even 2-1 or 3-0. Then you could say, okay, does the psyche factor come into play? And playing against Patrick and losing in the AFC Championship on your home field and then losing the way they did the following year to open the season, all of that comes into play. Right now, it's just about winning a ball game. And because it's the first quarter of the season and each team is where they are, I feel like that's probably at the forefront of each of these guys' mind.
Hey, Dan, you mentioned earlier that you felt like DeAndre Hopkins still had a lot left in his tank last year. For the Ravens, he's been a great addition. They've used him sparingly in parts, and then when he's out there, he just constantly makes an impact on the game. He's had 6 targets, 5 receptions, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 drawn DPIs, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3 when targeted. Why didn't the Chiefs re-sign him? I mean, we're happy that they didn't, but why didn't they?
Yeah, it's a tough predicament. I don't know all the ins and outs of why they didn't. I feel like he would have been a huge asset to our offense. The one impressive thing about him is that he has that ability to draw those penalties. He did that last year for us, and on several occasions where things broke down on offense, and you can see on the opposite side of the field, maybe Patrick is running for his life to the left and DeAndre standing on the right, standing next to the yellow flag, saying, everybody calm down. It's about to be a first down. Like he's that crafty vet that knows how to get under the skin of defenders and force them maybe outside the box. I know last year, Patrick Surtain II drew a couple of penalties against us, mainly because DeAndre frustrated him, getting physical with him. So you can bring that component to the game that can be an asset. I don't know why they didn't re-sign him. I feel like, when you know that you have Rashee Rice, you know that you have Xavier Worthy, you weren't quite sure about the suspension and the situation with Rashee Rice. They wanted to get some speed on the field to stretch the field. That might have been a component there, knowing that you had Juju Smith-Schuster still there, which kind of, they're basically the same player in many respects. I feel like that may be the case, but he is definitely a force, especially in the red zone, even in his 13th year. And he's going to be somebody that we're going to have to figure out how to quiet down.
Dane, in one specific matchup that you're intrigued by, like the potential of it coming Sunday, and if you would, your prediction.
Well, I'm intrigued by Chris Jones. I know you guys mentioned about Ronnie Stanley and that being a question mark, whether he's in the lineup or not. I want to see Chris Jones dominate. I think there's a lot that's been going on. You think back to that Chargers game, as I mentioned, a little bit undisciplined play cost us an opportunity for a final opportunity to drive the field and score a winning touchdown. He finally got his first sack against the Giants. But for a guy that's supposed to be the best in the league at that position, I want to see that on display. I want to see him be able to make some plays, not just make tackles. So that my eyes are going to gravitate towards 95 a lot when the defense is on the field. Also, you think about Zay Flowers. He probably has something to prove as well because of that fumble he had in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs. And even though that's kind of been a ways away, you still want some retribution there. So what are our defensive backs going to do against Zay Flowers to kind of quiet down that part of the offense? And Derrick Henry, if anybody on this field after 3 consecutive games with fumbles has something to prove and wants to showcase that he's the big bad man that we all know he is, he's probably a guy that is going to come out with an extra chip on his shoulder as well. So defensively for us, we're going to have our hands full. and hopefully we can continue to add to the wounded nature of this defense for the Ravens and not allow them to kind of correct things and get back on the right path.
And did you have a prediction for the game? Game prediction?
30-27, good guys. Chiefs.
There you have it. Fighting words for our live chat. But Dana, we appreciate you as always for carving out some time for us. Have a great call coming up on Sunday. We look forward to doing it again down the road.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Have a good
Former
one.
Kansas City Chief, as you can tell, right? The loyalty still is there for Dana Hughes. He's a former Kansas City Chief, day 3 pick years ago, and he's been the radio analyst there for several years, calling Chiefs games. I suppose it's time for us to throw out our predictions. I've been burnt, Sarah. I have been burnt by this team. 2 of 3 weeks. I picked them every single week to start, meaning I'm 1-2 as well. Or I'm 0-3. Let's see. No, I'm 1-2 as well. Right? We both bear their record in terms of our predictions.
Yes,
we are
because
1-2.
Yeah, I definitely predicted a win over the Bills and Browns. And I thought on Monday night, NFC team, thought the Ravens were going to win that one. So, yes, we are 1-2.
Just got totally burnt 2 of the last 3 weeks. It's time, though, for this matchup. 425, CBS slate, A-team, Romo, Nance, Wolfson. Ravens have never won in Arrowhead since Lamar took over. Don't know how much that's actually a part of like the equation when it comes to predicting this, Sarah, but there was a reason why I asked the psychological question. But to me, it's bigger than that in terms of why I'm going with the Chiefs this weekend. It's bigger than that. The Ravens have more questions than they do answers right now on the defensive side of the football, and I just straight up do not trust them. I don't trust any level of this defense right now. I don't trust them up front. I don't trust them in the middle, especially with Travis Kelce still lurking and roaming. I know he is aging. I know he is not what he once was, but he is still there. His presence is still felt, and he has killed the Ravens in the middle part of the field before, and he's still capable of doing so. I don't know how healthy, quote unquote, healthy Xavier Worthy will be, Sarah, but he gave them trouble in week 1, his first game ever a year ago. I'm sure the Ravens will test him to see just how healthy or unhealthy he is. Rashee Rice will not be available, but Worthy will be. And Tyquan Thornton has quietly had a really solid year for them in what has been, yes, a pedestrian offensive output so far through 3 weeks. It all starts in the trenches, and the Ravens have not proven that they're capable of establishing their presence and their dominance in the trenches. And while Chris Jones, as Danon said, is off to a slow start, I just don't trust that he'll continue to be off to a slow start after 4 weeks. I don't trust the Ravens' ability to get home to Mahomes, and I'm concerned about Nnamdi Madubuike's loss moving forward. I'm concerned about a banged-up Travis Jones, even though he does look to be trending towards playing. And I'm concerned about where Kyle Van Noy is with his hamstring, even though, again, he looks like he could be trending towards playing. And we haven't even gotten to Ronnie Stanley, even though John Harbaugh did make it seem like he's optimistic. As far as Patrick Ricard is concerned, by the way, just because it just popped up on my timeline as it relates to Jeff's tweet, John Harbaugh didn't have any update on him and wrote, essentially said that he's still in rehab mode. So I am going with the Chiefs at Arrowhead. I'll go 30-24. Chiefs over the Ravens in a position where, yeah, Baltimore's 1-3 on the wrong side of history when we talk about that statistic, and we'll be reeling and searching for answers with 2 weeks to go into the bye. And those really become must wins, not mathematically, but from an optic standpoint, those will become must wins. I hope I'm wrong. That's where I'm at on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, for all the reasons that you just said, I mean, I want so badly to believe that the Ravens defense can stop this version of the Kansas City Chiefs offense that just has not been what they've been in the past. And yet it's hard to do so. When you aren't sure that the defensive coordinator is going to put all the guys in the right position, and you're not sure what your defensive line is going to be looking like, and Pacheco could have this as a get-right game. Maybe Xavier Worthy will be back. I mean, you'd think that this version of the Chiefs, the defense could definitely stop, but I just don't have that confidence right now. And then on the other side, I was like, okay, well, as long as the Ravens can score 30 plus, they should be able to win anyway. I'm concerned now about Ronnie Stanley on top of no Ricard. And then you've got Voorhees and Fa'alele there, and Roger Rosengarten is coming off of a like C- kind of a game. So that makes me concerned for Lamar Jackson. And because of that, and because the Chiefs have outperformed the Ravens coaches in the past, I don't know. It just makes me nervous if they can win the chess match against Steve Spagnola and then Andy Reid, who is essentially their offensive coordinator. So because of those injury-related problems and the fact that I think that the Ravens will have a hard time out-coaching them in Arrowhead, I'm predicting the Chiefs win 28-27.
You know, we could keep going on like the analysis part of this. Neither one of us, we did with Dana, and neither one of us mentioned Isaiah Pacheco. Mm-hmm. Now, Dana mentioned it in the sense that Mahomes is their leading rusher through 3 weeks, meaning they've had a really slow start with run game efficiency, as he put it. They have not been in an efficient run game from an offensive standpoint. They might very well be after this game. I mean, look, I don't take any pleasure in saying this. I don't trust their ability to stop downhill threats like Isaiah Pacheco. He is a violent runner. And I think he's going to have success, Sarah, running between the tackles, which is going to open up their play action passing game, much like it did against Detroit the other night. And the Ravens have to have an answer for it. And I just don't know if they have a current answer for some of their shortcomings, whether it's the horsepower or lack thereof, whether it's the young rookies that they're asking a lot from early on in their careers, or the way they're meshing as an overall unit defensively. And on top of that, I think you just made an astute point as it pertains to Pat Ricard. Are the Ravens approaching a phase of this season where they're really starting to miss him? I think there's a debate to be had about that. And the fact that there's really no clarity on what his overall timeline is, it's concerning. Very concerning.
Would love to have him back sooner than later. And
heck,
yesterday,
Todd
Monken was asked about it. Todd Monken was asked, hey, has not having Ricard, had an impact? And he's like, yeah, it has, but I can't use that as an excuse.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. Ian and others in the live chat right now are like, ripping us for, have you watched the Chiefs? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you looked at them? Have you seen? Yes. Yes. We're well aware of what the Chiefs have been through 3 weeks. I think it's naive of those that are pushing back on that in that department, because it's almost just like you're willing to gloss over what's happened in the past as it relates to Kansas City's struggles. They turn it on against the Ravens. They turn it on come postseason. I won't be fooled by that. And I don't think this year is any different. Maybe I'll be wrong, and I'm willing to take a lap or 2 or 3 coming up next week. But that's where I'm at on it.
Hope we're both wrong. Super chats?
Always. Moneybag, did you ever clarify what this was? Keaton Mitchell and
Maybe
Jay
he
Higgins.
did.
Moneybag, if you're with us, please clarify what you meant by that super chat. William Coley, Sarah.
Hey, I guess we're just not spoiled. We're just having realistic expectations. We're not spoiled anymore. I guess. Okay. William Coley says NFL feels like a TV series. Go Ravens, win a couple more games, then really going to have to talk about what Lamar is doing host.
Eduardo celebrating 1 month. And Eduardo writes, traveled 2,000 miles to watch the Monday night game. And Kyle Hamilton has the audacity to call us Ravens fans, quote, spoiled. Where did you travel from, Eduardo? Very cool. Eric Hill says battle is short for battle buddy in the Army. Okay. This goes back to his $100 nugget that he gave earlier on, where he said, shout out to one of my battles. And hopefully we pronounced that right. I think you said Kiowanda.
Q1. Yeah. One of the two, maybe.
Thanks for clarifying, Eric. Richard's in the house.
He says, Bobby, I actually wanted to teach you proper vocal technique. Damaged vocal cords are no joke. And I'm a formally trained singer. Okay. So he wants to help you with your Ma the Meatloaf so you can give the energy without ripping your vocal cords.
How has this background of Richard's never come up in conversation?
I know, it's crazy.
I've broken bread with this man. You're a formally trained singer? What? Ray Dog We Trust writes, I've accepted the meal of defeat. Chef Harbaugh been serving up L's too long. Ready for 2026 with new coaching and leadership. Is this a serious super chat? Are you for real? Like you've already waved the white flag, Ray Dog? Just to be clear. Mr. Chief is celebrating 2 months, Sarah.
He says, my new job has kept me from watching live, but I still appreciate you guys giving me great Ravens content. If only the defense could be as consistent.
We appreciate you, Mr. Chief. Eric Hill says Lamar needs to take a page from TB12. I say put 3 to 5 wide receiver sets and quick passes off the line. Hit him with crossers and digs down the field, and then air it out. Paging Todd Monken. Elite Simba, 23.
Elite says, Kyle is right. Nobody talks worse about Ravens than us fans. We're part of the culture and contribute to it with our catastrophizing. Stay up and get this W.
DeBull. Clay Martin will be the head referee in the Chiefs versus Ravens game. The Chiefs are 6-0 with Martin. The Ravens are 0-3. That's according to Warren Sharp. Hashtag worried. Sarah,
great.
Warren oftentimes follows trends when it comes to officiating and how teams tend to fare with said officiating. I did see that pop up a little while ago, and DeBull is just relaying what Warren tweeted. Thanks, DeBull. Show me Row.
Chiefs will destroy us on third down, he says. We can't get off the field. Mahomes will have 50 to 60 yards rushing with ease. I'm expecting another week or game plan.
Sun-kissed. If the fans are spoiled, defense is stealing every time they get paid. Did he not see the performance we've seen for years in caps now? Thanks, Sun-kissed. Dre Dog's in the house.
Says time for karaoke. Is that for you, Bobby?
Probably.
Because you're a singer.
Probably.
You and Asmodeus, you guys could do a little duet together.
We could do a little duet. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So what other super chats you got?
Nobody wants to hear me sing. Nobody wants to hear that.
What else you got for us in the quick hit department?
Well, there were some things we had to pass by. So first of all, Zach Orr was asked about Nnamdi Madubuike. He seemed to be more optimistic, but I'm also not sure. He also said he wasn't really in the know, but he made it seem like, hey, there's still hope.
Good spirits. I don't necessarily know what's going on. All I can do is just pray for him. When I talked to him, he was in good spirits. So, my thoughts and prayers with him. I know how bad he wants to be out here and play football. It's a lifelong dream. He was playing well. I thought he was having one of his best seasons up to date. I was crushed when he was going through whatever he was going through last week. And me seeing him in good spirits and him with a smile on his face playing around was great. So hopefully, we see him back soon.
All right. So we shall see, but I'm not holding my breath. Aqib Talib on the Arenas Gridiron, I think is what it's called, podcast. He called out Derrick Henry, and not for what you might think. He called him out for, and you might think that he might be calling him out for fumbling, but he actually thinks that Derrick Henry didn't run hard enough, especially in those goal line situations.
I don't like how he hitting the hole either. You got to score from the one, bro.
You just got to.
You got to just run something over and just turn sideways, close your eyes, and just go.
Yeah.
I think he's too high, or I don't know. I can't tell that man how to run the ball.
Yeah.
But it just don't look physical enough to me.
No.
I don't think it looked physical enough to Lamar. The faces and grunts and everything he was making last night, he was almost like, bro, why are we calling this?
I know,
what we doing?
If you put the ball in his hands on first and goal, second and goal, I'll bet he gets it in the end zone.
Man, I'm like, with that big old O-line, man, put Derrick Henry behind him and push that in. Like, what we doing here?
And the Ravens definitely should have scored in one of those 4 attempts from 3 yards in. But yeah, so he feels like Derrick Henry wasn't running hard enough. Maybe listen, I don't hate a play call that says, hey, it's 2nd and 1. We're going to go right up the middle with Derrick Henry. Even, I don't know, unless the blocking is getting pushed back into your lap, that's a problem. But I felt like he got a pretty good run. And maybe on that 2nd and 1, you would have hoped he could have gotten in with his own just physical willing to get into it. The first play, I thought he was fine on the from the 3, got 2 yards. Todd Monken took the blame for the 3rd down one, and then the 4th down. That was just terrible. But on that 2nd and 1, you would like to see Henry get in.
Yeah, I thought a little tentative. I could see what it keeps saying there, just in terms of just do your sledgehammer mode, right? Just go into sledgehammer mode. Just start moving bodies, which we've seen so often before. It's going to be white on purple coming up on Sunday. Those are the game day threads that the Ravens are going with, and we all remember what happened, whether it's a toe, a cleat, a big toe, half a foot.
My question is, because the NFL is so particular about what these guys are allowed to wear, Bobby, I remember working for the team. Everybody knew who the designated NFL uniform check guy was, and you would get fined. He'd come around. He's looking at socks. He's looking at helmets. He's looking at visors, all that. I'm trying to remember, like, are shoes part of that? Like because the Ravens have the threads on here with the white on purple, but the black shoes. Like, is Isaiah likely allowed to wear white shoes? I just need to know.
You got me.
We might need to look into that.
Got me.
All right, I got 2 more quick hits. Remember, Arnold got into it. Arnold from the Lions got in. Go ahead.
Terrion Arnold.
Terrion Arnold got into it with DeAndre Hopkins. They were both kind of talking to each other during one point in the game. And Hopkins was talking. He just is like such a calm talker. Like it seemed like Arnold was getting like all fired up, and DeAndre was just like cool, but definitely talking that smack. Anyway, Terrion Arnold was asked about it on a podcast about their exchange, and here's what he had to say.
So you and D-Hop get into it a little bit.
I'm talking to the rep. I'm like, come on, man. Like, everybody and their mama know this ain't DPI, man. Come on, man. This man whole hand in my face. He said, you too small, boy.
Yeah.
Hey, I look, stop talking to the ref. I'm like, hey, fam, boy, you ain't even like that second half. I'm like, I hope Lamar throw this 50-50 ball so I can really go up here and get it. And then, Lamar, he ended up looking at him. He didn't end up throwing it. Backside X again. Lamar tried to throw the back shoulder. Ball gets thrown out of bounds. Then I look at him. I said, hey, fam, I told you ain't even like that. But I called him by his nickname. When I called him by his nickname, he looked at me like, how you know that? I said, boy, I know everything, boy. After that, he hit me. He say, how many All-Pros you got? I say, fam, you didn't go All-Pro to your 4th, 5th year in the league. Come on, boy, I do my research. But like, you know how it is. Just being in a competitive environment, man. Got a lot of respect for that dude right there. When you got into it with D-Hop last season, bro, how did you feel about that?
Tension is rising, bro. You know what I mean? My blood flowing. I'm already like, man, if he tries some shit, I'm going to go all out. Boom. I quick jam him. Disrupt his rhythm a little bit. We go down the field.
All right, well, you need to hear about that.
I love it, though. I love that.
You like the back and forth?
Give me all that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the rookie and the vet in a sense, like, and I just love how what you already pointed out, the demeanor of DeAndre, I think can easily get under the skin of some of these DBs because he's not the type that's going to be this like boisterous type of demon out there. He's so smooth and silky and confident with what he's accomplished in the league and what he's still capable of doing that they both got theirs on Monday night, but who got the last laugh? Well, ultimately, the team who won got the last laugh. But in those matchups, DeAndre obviously got the last laugh. But I love it. You heard, and after he got past like the whole John, he's like, it's a competitive environment. Yeah, I'm sure D-Hop would get up there and say the same exact thing about his game once you get outside the lines.
Yeah. During the game, there was that talk, but he did give love. But I would have loved for Lamar to have thrown that 50-50 ball because Lamar didn't end up throwing it, but DeAndre Hopkins almost never looks open, and yet all he does is catch passes. So that would have been nice. He thinks he won because Lamar didn't throw it, but maybe if Lamar had, who knows what DeAndre would have done. Also, we didn't get into I wanted to play this prior to our guest, but we ran out of time. Steve Young was on the Dan Patrick Show. We know Steve Young inside the vault. We know how much he loves Lamar Jackson. Dan Patrick was asking for advice that he'd give to different quarterbacks. So he was talking about all quarterbacks around the league, but they did talk about Lamar, and Steve Young just had one piece of advice at the end of this clip for Lamar.
You say to Lamar Jackson, if he came to you and said, Steve, what do you think of my
I would love that because Lamar's my guy. Like, I think Lamar can be the greatest player of all time. And I've said this for years. And I think the Ravens they haven't heard me. I mean, they don't care, but I'm just saying 4 or 5 years ago, they were the most sophisticated running game. Go to the playoffs and just flail, because the game is a sophisticated passing game is still what matters. Great running games are great, and then Lamar just was not being challenged to be a sophisticated passer, and I knew he could be. And then a couple of years ago, you saw them transition, and they got the help he needed at receiver and made a commitment to it and believed in him, and then started to call plays to do that. So I think that transition's happening. And that's why Lamar continues to thrive and can get better and better. I would say to Lamar, keep on this track. Make sure every week that you're doing the study. Like, quarterback sucks in a lot of ways during the week, because it's a memorization game. It's reflexive memorization, so that when you get to the game, you've studied enough that you know all the tendencies. You know, in the red zone blitz tendencies. You know, you've watched enough film. So much of it is just a mind game. And I would just tell him, like he is obviously doing the work, just double down every week, every season, like double down on the mind game.
I mean, what else can you say? Lamar is once again at an MVP level. He seems to be happy finally, with the Ravens giving him a more sophisticated passing attack, giving him autonomy at the line of scrimmage. So he's just like, double down on it, continue to win that mind game, continue to study. Sometimes that's not fun, and it's just a bunch of memorization. And we did hear from John Harbaugh earlier that he's got a photographic memory. So he just doubled down on the mind game. That's the only advice he could give Lamar at this point, because Lamar has been playing so well.
Who goes to bat more for Lamar Jackson than the great Steve Young, which we've obviously had the privilege of having him on a couple different times thanks to your efforts. So awesome stuff there from the Hall of Famer, and awesome stuff from Mike Macdonald, former Ravens defensive coordinator. The Seahawks are off to a 3-1 start. I thought Arizona kind of gave this game away in a sense, having watched the fourth quarter last night. But hey, bottom line is this is a Seahawks defense, Sarah, that's carrying the team, and they're getting some good complementary game management from Sam Darnold and company. Jackson Smith and Jigba is so much fun to watch. You forget that Cooper Kupp is on this Seahawks team as well. They're going to be a top 5 defense, I would think, when it's all said and done. Obviously, Mike has a stamp all over that. They beat the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football 23-20. It was a game winner as time expired. I thought that Sam Darnold made timely plays when he needed to. They have a great rushing attack with Kenneth Walker. He's a beast, man. He had 19 carries for 81 yards, which doesn't wow you, but again, just kind of wore him down the way that the Ravens used to wear down their opponents with Mike as their defensive coordinator in a lot of ways. So I think the Seahawks are going to be a tough out. I know that you were watching national coverage today. There was a conversation to be had about whether or not they could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I think might be a little bit ahead of schedule.
No, just a contender in the NFC. Like, they were just talking about where they fall in the NFC, not necessarily like, oh yeah, Super Bowl. Yeah, not pushing that too much. Yeah,
that's probably a bit ahead of schedule. But hey, the fact that this is year 2 for Mike Mack, I know a lot of you have a hard time swallowing this pill, even having this conversation, just because you wanted him to be the successor to Harbaugh. But I know I'm from a human level, having gotten to know him a little bit when he was in Baltimore, I'm just thrilled for Mike, and I don't think it's any coincidence, Sarah, that the Seahawks really have picked up right where they left off with Pete Carroll.
3-1, and it was funny because there were some premature jokes. People started to try to Ravens fans were trying to fight amongst themselves because the Seahawks almost gave up a fourth quarter lead, but they didn't. They almost did, but they didn't. They ended up getting the win. So before the game was over, people were like, oh, look, see, Mike Macdonald loses fourth quarter leads too. But in the end, they won. And it is crazy, Bobby. I mean, we were talking about this pre-show in our call. Like, it really is, as you step back, just astounding how quickly Mike Macdonald has risen through the ranks. Like, we were already astounded when he was like a phenomenal defensive head coach at such a young age, doing it at Michigan first, came in more as like an analyst, a numbers analyst. And like, then he goes on, and within just, was it 2 years, he was the defensive coordinator here. He goes on and now he's a head coach. He's a head coach, not with like a franchise quarterback. Like, Sam Darnold has been passed over by 2 different organizations. I mean, good for him. I mean, he's like, you got to give him credit. He's overcome being drafted by the Jets. But this isn't Lamar Jackson. This isn't the top tier quarterbacks that we're talking about. And he's 3-1. He's 3-1. just an outstanding story. And the way it started, it makes you feel like he's going to be around and a head coach for years to come. Seahawks value stability. You can see him coaching there for years and years and years with this type of start. Obviously, he has to continue it. You don't want to project too far ahead, but it is just amazing how quickly he has risen.
I want to say I saw an NFL like historic stat on the way out of that broadcast last night that 9 of the first 10 road games have been won by a second-year head coach. He's won 9 of his first 10 road games.
And
that is
8
insane.
8 straight on the road.
And 8 of which have been straight consecutive. Thank you. I mean, that is really impressive to take over a team, Sarah, that did not have a quarterback. Right? All due respect to Geno Smith, and then Geno leaves for Vegas. They go and bring in Sam Darnold, who had a tremendous year with Minnesota. I mean, these are essentially like placeholder. Again, all due respect to these guys, they're probably not going to be in their respective franchises for the next 10 years, and yet Mike's finding ways to win. So, and just to rip through his resume real quick, because you kind of referenced this fast rise, this meteoric rise. Mike is 38. He turns 39 next summer.
Wow.
Okay. In 08 and 09, he was a high school linebackers coach and running backs coach at Cedar Shoals in Georgia. He then went on to become a grad assistant at Georgia in 2010. He then went on to become a defensive quality control assistant from 11 to 13 with the Georgia Bulldogs. Then the Ravens bring him in. John Harbaugh does in 2014 to serve as a coaching intern. From 15 to 16, he's promoted to defensive assistant. Then in 17, he's promoted to DB's coach. Then linebackers from 18 to 20. Then Jim Harbaugh's like, get over here to Michigan. He brings him there to be his defensive coordinator for just a season in 21. Then John's like, get over here. I'm bringing you back to Baltimore. And he serves as DC, as we all know, in 22 and 23, a historic 23 team. And that got the attention of Seattle, who brought him in 2024. It's an unbelievable. Taurus, go take a lap. It's an unbelievable rise. Take 2 laps, Taurus. You're pissing me off. It's an unbelievable meteoric rise for Mike Macdonald. And just because the live chat's upset that I'm bringing up his resume, it's an unbelievable meteoric rise for Mike Macdonald. I'm happy for him. Best of luck to him moving forward.
I'm happy for him. I'm also a little bit jealous. Kind of wish you just hate to see talent like that leave the city, leave your team, you know?
It's tough. It's tough, especially when you just made the statement, and I agree with you, that he could be a staple in this league for years to come. He's 38 years old. So good for him. Ray Dog says about his whole like waving the white flag, he thinks the season's over. He says, I'm willing and hoping to eat crow.
All of us, especially with our game predictions.
Dre Dog for you.
Dre Dog says, I can carry a tune pretty well. We can do a boys 2-men song or something. 2 men. A boys. Oh, Boys to Men from back in the day. Sorry, the way he wrote that. Boys to Men. Oh, that'd be great. That's 3. We need 1 more guy. We got you, we got Dre Dog, and we got Osmonius. Boys to Men are 4.
I'm sure PHP.
Who else is in?
PHP would jump in.
PHP can sing?
No, I have no idea, but maybe he would. Eduardo says from LA is where he traveled in from.
Wow. That is a sacrifice.
And there's PHP putting his prediction out there. 41 to 27. He's got the Ravens over the Chiefs Sunday. Calling a shot.
Wait, go back. What was it? What did he say?
41-27.
Okay, PHP. That's where PHP, he forgot to write, don't embarrass me.
I was going to say, he's got pride, man. He's got pride. Calling his shot with his predictions. What do you say, live chat? What say you? What are your predictions coming up on Sunday? Neil Harold, David, and Octavia Cool. I guess you guys are getting back-to-back days of shout-outs because I totally forgot to populate the Patreon. Can you tell I'm off? Goodness gracious. It's what happens when I don't have a 6 a.m. We'll do double the amount coming up on Sunday. Thanks to Octavia, David, Neil for your support. And thanks to all of our patrons for all the love that you guys give us, for being part and integral parts of our community. Patreon.com/RavensVault podcast is where you can find more ways to get involved in the channel. And involved is he ever. Eric Hill with a $20 super chat on our way out.
He says, this past week has been nothing short of amazing, even with the loss. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to more memories. Have a good weekend, everyone. Hit me up for Boys to Men. Oh, he's in. Hashtag 6K for LJ and hashtag Boys to Men. Eric Hill, I will say, outside of the loss, I've had a great week too. And I love that you can go on and have great, great weeks, wonderful weeks, or amazing weeks, as you say. Good for you, because you deserve them.
Yes, you do, Eric. And hopefully all your travels have been going well. And hopefully everybody is enjoying their Purple Friday, wherever you are, whatever you're up to. Enjoy it. Have a safe weekend. We will catch up with you for pregame coverage on the Bobby Baltimore side of things. I'll be solo at 2 o'clock. Charm City Spirits offering up a giveaway for that show, which will be fun in honor of the Ravens' 30-year history. I look forward to doing one of those. That was Richard's idea, by the way. Richard, if you're watching or listening, we got a big giveaway coming up, giving away a couple bottles. That should be fun. And then on Sunday, Sarah and I, probably in the 7 o'clock hour, depending on how things shake out with the overall timing, maybe more towards, 4:25. Anyway, we'll see. I don't know. 7, 8 o'clock.
Post game.
Sarah and I will be live, as always, to talk through whatever takes place in Kansas City. 4:25 kickoff. Partner, appreciate you as always. Anything else before we jump?
No, sir. I got nothing. Enjoy
right.
your weekend.
Yeah, you do the same. Guys, like the video if you could on the way out. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And thanks to all of you who have been rocking your merch to the bank or on the road, in this case, this weekend in Kansas City. If you guys want to get yours, you can go to thevaultpod.com/shop. And we would love for you to enter into our giveaway before we randomly give away $100 Fanatics gift card coming up next week to Baltimore's team store. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Friday edition here inside the Vault. And Vaultrons, we appreciate you as always. Have an awesome 48 hours, and we'll catch up with you on game day come Sunday. Later.